What if a 1-cent coin sitting quietly in an old collection, a family coin jar, or a forgotten box could be worth far more than its 1-cent face value? Today, we are going back to the years 1940 and 1941, a fascinating period in American coinage history, and we are taking a close look at the United States Lincoln wheat cents from these 2 years. But there is one important detail you need to understand before you decide that every 1940 or 1941 penny is rare. The date alone does not automatically make these coins valuable. The mint mark, condition, color, strike quality, errors, varieties, and especially the survival of high-grade examples can make a dramatic difference in value. Welcome back to USAX Coin, the channel where we explore old United States coins, their history, identifying features, mint marks, condition, and the prices collectors are willing to pay in today's market. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories and potential values behind old coins, make sure you subscribe to USAX Coin, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with another coin collector. And stay with me until the end, because I will explain what a normal circulated 1940 or 1941 Lincoln cent can realistically be worth, what makes certain examples much more desirable, and why some spectacular high-grade pieces have reached thousands of dollars at auction. The 1940 and 1941 Lincoln cents belong to the famous Lincoln wheat cent series, which was introduced in 1909 and continued through 1958. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, with Abraham Lincoln appearing on the obverse and 2 wheat ears surrounding the inscriptions on the reverse. The wheat reverse is one of the most recognizable designs in American coin collecting, and today these coins remain extremely popular with beginners, advanced collectors, and people searching through inherited collections. The 1940 and 1941 cents are especially interesting because they were produced during a period immediately before and during the early years of America's involvement in World War II. In 1940, the United States was preparing for a rapidly changing world, and by 1941 the country was moving toward a wartime economy. Just a couple of years later, the United States Mint would completely change the composition of the cent because of wartime demands, producing the famous 1943 steel cents. So when you hold a 1940 or 1941 wheat penny, you are holding a piece of American history from just before that major transformation. These coins were made from a bronze-type alloy containing approximately 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. The standard weight was about 3.11 grams, with a diameter of approximately 19 millimeters and a plain edge. The mint mark, when present, appears on the obverse below the date. Coin World. That tiny letter underneath the date is one of the first things you should check. If there is no mint mark, the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. AD indicates the Denver Mint, while an S indicates the San Francisco Mint. Do not assume that the presence of AD or S automatically makes a coin rare. In fact, several 1940 and 1941 mint mark cents were produced in substantial quantities. What matters is the combination of date, mint, condition, color, strike, and variety. Let's start with the 1940 Lincoln cent. The 1940 Philadelphia issue is a fascinating coin because it has a large mintage, meaning it is not considered a major rarity in circulated grades. But that does not mean it has no collector value. A circulated 1940 Lincoln cent can still be worth more than face value, particularly when it has attractive surfaces, strong details, and pleasing original color. On the obverse, look at Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Check the date carefully. Then look immediately beneath the date. If there is no letter, you have the Philadelphia issue. On the reverse, examine the wheat ears and the lettering United States of America, 1 cent, and E pluribus unum. Now let's talk about the condition that many people find in old collections, fine condition. A fine coin has experienced noticeable circulation, but important design details remain visible. Lincoln's hair and facial features show wear, but the portrait is still clear. On the reverse, the wheat ears and lettering remain recognizable, although the finer details are worn down. For an ordinary circulated 1940 Lincoln cent in fine condition, you should not expect a fortune. Depending on the exact grade, originality, eye appeal, and market conditions, a realistic collector level value may be only a modest amount above face value. PCGS's current price guide shows 1940 brown examples beginning around the low tens of dollars at lower circulated grades and increasing with grade, while red examples command significantly higher prices in uncirculated grades. PCGS. This is an important lesson for coin collectors. A coin can be 86 years old and still not be rare. Age is only one factor. Now consider the 1940D Lincoln cent from Denver. The 1940D had a mintage of 81,390,000 coins. PCGS describes the issue as having many survivors across circulated and uncirculated grades, with greater difficulty beginning at the very highest mint state levels. PCGS. So if you find a 1940D in fine condition, do not immediately believe internet claims that the coin is worth thousands of dollars simply because it has a D mint mark. A normal circulated 1940D is generally a collectible wheat cent rather than a major rarity. In fine condition, a reasonable market expectation is typically in the low dollar range, with the exact price depending on the coin's appearance, authenticity, and grade. If the coin is heavily scratched, cleaned, corroded, or damaged, its value can be lower. If it is unusually attractive for its grade, it may bring a premium. But here is where things become much more interesting. The same 1940D date can become dramatically more valuable when the coin is preserved in an extraordinary mint state grade with original red color. PCGS records an auction price of $10,800 for a 1940D Lincoln cent graded MS68RD, sold by Heritage Auctions in January 2025. PCGS. Think about that difference. A circulated fine example might be worth only a few dollars, while an extraordinarily preserved top-grade example can sell for thousands. That is why collectors should never confuse the value of a spectacular auction coin with the value of an ordinary circulated coin. Now let's move to the 1940 South Lincoln Center from San Francisco. The 1940S is another popular issue. PCGS auction records show that exceptional high-grade examples can command serious money. One extraordinary 1940S graded MS68RD sold for $9,600 at a Stack's Bowers auction in October 2018. PCGS described it as one of the finest known examples, with only 2 coins at that level in its population data at the time. PCGS. That $9,600 result is exciting, but again, you need to understand the grade. This was not a normal circulated penny. It was an extremely high-grade, nearly perfect red example. If you have a 1940S that has spent decades circulating through pockets, cash registers, drawers, and coin jars, it will not be worth anything close to $9,600 simply because the date and mint mark match. For a circulated fine 1940S, the value is generally modest. PCGS auction records also demonstrate that lower grade or more ordinary examples can sell for much smaller amounts. For example, an MS64 1940S appeared in auction records at $7, while the extraordinary MS68RD example reached $9,600. PCGS. This enormous difference shows exactly why coin grading matters. Now we move into 1941. The 1941 Philadelphia Lincoln cent had a mintage of 887,039,100 coins, making it a plentiful issue compared with many famous key dates in the Lincoln cent series. It has the same basic 3.11 gram weight and bronze composition used for the period. Coin week. If your 1941 Lincoln cent has no mint mark, it was made at Philadelphia. A circulated fine 1941 Philadelphia cent is not normally a rare coin. Its value can be above face value because it is an older wheat cent, but most examples are not going to make you rich. This is one of the most important points for anyone making videos or researching old coins: never confuse collectability with extreme rarity. A coin can be desirable without being rare. A coin can be old without being expensive. And a coin can have a mint mark without being a key date. Now let's examine the 1941D. The 1941D was struck at the Denver Mint and is another issue collectors look for. The D mint mark appears underneath the date. When examining one, use good lighting and magnification. Make sure the D is genuine and not the result of damage, tooling, or an altered coin. The difference between a genuine mint mark and an altered mint mark can matter greatly if the coin appears valuable. In ordinary circulated fine condition, a 1941 D is generally not a coin that should automatically be valued at hundreds or thousands of dollars. The market rewards exceptional preservation much more strongly than ordinary circulation wear. PCGS auction records show a 1941 D graded MS65RD selling for $18 in an earlier Great Collections auction, while PCGS's broader auction data records much higher prices for exceptional grades. PCGS. This is another excellent example of the importance of grade. A coin can have the exact same date and mint mark, yet two examples can have dramatically different values. One might have scratches, brown color, and heavy wear. Another might have brilliant original red color, strong luster, virtually flawless surfaces, and an elite professional grade. The second coin can be worth many times more. Now we come to one of the most interesting coins in this entire discussion, the 1941 South Lincoln Center. The San Francisco Mint struck 92,360,000 examples in 1941. PCGS. At first glance, that number might make the coin sound common, and in circulated grades it generally is. But collectors have discovered interesting differences in the appearance of the S mint mark on 1941 S cents. There is a small s and a large S variety. The small s and large s are differentiated by the shape and structure of the mint mark. The 1941 S small s resembles the 1940 S style, while the large S has different characteristics. Research from the Lincoln Cent Resource estimates that approximately 7 to 10% of 1941 S cents have the large S variety. Lincoln Cent Resource. This is exactly why you should examine the mint mark closely rather than simply saying, I found a 1941 S, so it must be worth thousands. The variety can be interesting to collectors, but the ordinary circulated examples are still generally affordable. When collectors evaluate older copper and bronze cents, they often use three broad color designations: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins have lost most of their original red coloration through oxidation and environmental exposure. Red-brown examples retain some original red color, while red examples preserve much more of the original mint color. In circulated grades, most 1940 and 1941 cents you encounter will not have the brilliant red appearance seen on high-grade mint state pieces. That is one reason you should be suspicious when someone advertises an ordinary circulated 1940 or 1941 penny as a rare red specimen worth thousands. Look carefully. If the coin has been artificially cleaned or recolored, that can actually hurt its value rather than increase it. Never clean an old coin simply because you think it looks dirty. Cleaning can leave hairline scratches and unnatural surfaces that experienced collectors and professional graders can recognize immediately. Now let's talk about auction values because this is where many coin videos become misleading. Auction records are real sales, but they represent particular coins in particular grades at particular times. They should not be used as a guarantee that every coin with the same date and mint mark is worth the same amount. For example, PCGS records an auction record of $15,000 for a 1941 South Lincoln Center graded MS68RD, sold by Heritage Auctions in January 2025. PCGS. That is an incredible result. But notice the grade. MS68RD. That is completely different from fine condition. This is USAX coin. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next coin hunting adventure. The auction figures above are based on documented PCGS/auction records rather than claiming that an ordinary fine condition coin is worth the same amount. PCGS.